57 wins and 37 knockouts. A former two-time world champion with 9 title defenses, plus a USBA light heavyweight champion, Toney has moved up in weight often, but he says weight has never been an issue.
They appreciate it because they want to see real fighters. They don't want to see people running around here chasing that, not fighting the real fighters. I fight everybody. I don't turn down nothing but my collar. We want to fight, we can do it. When I was middleweight champion, I fought all the best fighters out there. Never done nobody. Same as a light heavyweight, same as cruiserweight.
In 1991, Toney was voted by Ring Magazine the Fighter of the Year. He won the middleweight championship with an 11th round come-from-behind knockout against Michael Nunn. He did lose to Roy Jones Jr., but Toney continues to come back time and time again. In June of 1997, he picked up a 12-round decision against Steve Little. And then we saw him here on ESPN2 in July. He took care of Adolfo Washington. Toney's back.
A lot of fans, they appreciate the game of boxing, not just running and going around showing who can do the best backflip, whatever, you know what I'm saying? There's a lot of hardcore boxing fans out there that know that James Toney is from the old days. A throwback, we got boxing skills, great boxing skills.
But he does have great boxing skills, and he'll go against a former great amateur, highly decorated Ramon Garbey, who defected to the United States in 1996 prior to the Olympics from Cuba. He's 14-1 as a professional with 11 knockouts in his career. Garbey, though, is coming off a loss to Napoleon to go. But Garbey is ready for tonight's showdown with Toney.
I heard rumors that James Toney was telling people in the hallway last night in the fight that he was going to knock me out. He was going to send all the Cubans back to Cuba, and he's invincible. We're going to find out tonight how invincible he is, and we'll see what he can do with me. Let his actions speak inside the ring, not outside the ring.
I got to see how he comes out the first round. Got to chin check him a little bit, throw a couple jabs out there, test the water. If he bites, then he goes to sleep. If he don't bite, we'll box him a little bit, set him up, then he'll go to sleep.
Well, James Toney has put 37 other opponents to sleep in his illustrious career. He will check the chin of Ramon Garbey early in this fight. A lot of different subtle things to look at because styles makes fights, and these two have very similar styles. Let's go in-depth in Atlas's world.
When former two-time world champion James Toney stares into the eyes of Ramon Garbey tonight, he'll be seeing a fighter who is almost a mirror image of himself. Both fighters have similar styles. Both are effective counterpunches, both are defensive-minded, and both can be lazy. We'll find out about Garbey's big fight mentality. We already know of Toney's attributes. When he wants to, Toney can get off real effective combinations, off the lead as well as off counters. He'll pile up the points if Garbey lays in front or looks to play defense. James is a real smart fighter. Nothing flashy. Watch here as he moves and slips his opponent's right hand, then counters with his own. Toney also works very well within tight quarters off the ropes. Look how he is able to create enough room to throw short, sharp punches, including the uppercut. These are the moves of a champion. Just like Garbey, there will be times when Toney gets lazy, playing defense too long, sometimes blocking and forgetting to come back with more than one punch. It figures to be a strategic fight, almost like a chess match, but I believe in the end, Toney will checkmate Garbey.
Little chess reference, and I like Mac's list of fearless fighters. I'd have Teddy a little higher up, and Max did not receive all the accurate information because Teddy had over 70 amateur fights. He was 5-0 in that tournament he won. Teddy, you're Ramon Garbey. I'm James Toney. Let's talk about something that Garbey does poorly that Toney can capitalize on. I'm Toney, you're Garbey.
Yeah, Garbey's a real defensive master like Toney is, but Garbey has a funny habit. To block the jab, sometimes he rises really high and leaves himself really out of position. Not only there, but here too.
Like that, Max? I finally got him. Okay, now you're Garbey, and he uses his defense well. I'm Toney. What should Toney watch out for?
He mirrors Toney, Garbey, in a lot of ways. He's a counterpuncher too, and he likes to use his shoulder to get away from that right hand, and then bing, come right back.
I got caught again. All right, that's what we should look for in our main event. Ramon Garbey is a man who had nearly 400 wins in the amateur ranks and outstanding amateur in his career. 26 years of age, now fighting out of Miami, Florida, part of Team Free. 28 years of age, 6'2", 197 1/4 pounds, 14-1, 11 knockouts. He's coming off a loss, though, to Napoleon to go. Garbey ranked 13th by the WBC, and he will be taking on James Lights Out Toney. Toney is 31 years of age, weighed in at 194 3/4 pounds, now fighting out of Los Angeles, born in Grand Rapids, Michigan, has a professional record of 57-4-2 with 37 knockouts. Former two-time world champion, middleweight champion, super middleweight champion, and also added a USBA light heavyweight title to his books as well. Let's take a look at the rules as governed by the state of Massachusetts. There is no 3 knockdown rule. There is a standing 8 count. Fighter can be saved by the bell in the final round only. Only the referee may stop an accidental foul. They'll go to the scorecards after 4 rounds are complete.
Tied up, nice safe break. I want you both to stop punching, both of you step back. Just a couple of cautions. No hitting on a break. No hitting on a bell. Don't hit a man when he's down, all right? Touch him up, guys.
Now it's done.
So Toney is going to check the chin of Ramon Garbey. A little stare down there. Freddie Roach is his trainer. And what about the weight of James Toney? Well, he says he'll go to heavyweight, no problem. But he said he would come down to 175 pounds to fight Roy Jones Jr. again. In 1994, Toney lost a 12-round decision. He gained 16 pounds after the weigh-in. And Ramon Garbey saying adjusting to life in the United States has not been difficult. He speaks with his family back in Cuba on a regular basis. He says Fidel Castro has not bothered his family at all since defecting. He and Joel Casamayor defected. The Cuban team was training in Mexico City prior to the 1996 Olympic Games in Atlanta. And that's when Garbey and Casamayor hot-footed it out of the Cuban team. Knockout ratio, you see 59% for Toney. He has had a knockout in every round of competition. Garbey, 9 of those knockouts have come in the first 2 rounds.
These guys can mirror each other. They're both guys that are real solid technically, like to counterpunch a lot. Who goes to the body is going to have a little bit of an edge because both guys defensively are smart. They've both gone up in weight, too. Garbey, when he was a world amateur champion, was a light heavyweight. He came over here as a light heavyweight. When he got to the American shores, though, he started eating, went up to a cruiserweight. Toney, of course, was at his best when he was a middleweight and super middleweight champion. One thing I have to say about Toney's weight, though, it looks like he's been on a weight program because even though he's a lot heavier than he was as a middleweight, and he probably still could be, obviously, some pounds lighter, but it's a well-defined weight. You can see it's much more solid, much more chiseled than Garbey's. He's definitely been hitting those weights, Mr. Toney.
He's only 2.5 pounds lighter than he was on his July 30th performance when he just beat up Adolfo Washington for 10 rounds. He was 197 for that fight. But Teddy, you're right. He looks like he is in better shape.
It's not a real soft weight. It's much better defined, much more solid. Both guys in there are cuties, real defensively smart. That's why if one guy would go to the body a little bit more, he's going to miss less punches because both guys move their heads well. Also, if one guy would feint, I think that would be an edge. Make the guy make his defensive move and then time him. Also, very important to put punches together when you're in there with an elusive guy. You're going to miss the first, you're going to miss the second, but the third and the fourth are going to get a chance to land.
Good stiff right hand by Toney.
And that's one of Toney's best moves. Get his shoulder up, let that right hand miss, and come back with his own right hand. Or slip the jab and come back with his right hand. Either way. One of Toney's problems is sometimes he'll lay in front and play a little bit too much defense. And give a guy a chance to outbox him, get off and get out.
Garbey a little wild. Toney making him miss. James Toney very slick defensively. Underrated at that. Well, they're the reigning cruiserweight champions. Vasily Yurov, Juan Carlos Gomez, and Fabrice Tioso. Alex Gonzalez and Dale Brown have the regional titles. James Toney is ranked number 10, Teddy. Arthur Williams, number 6. We'll see him next week. But I'll tell you what, Toney can move up those rankings, I would think, in a hurry.
Yes, we'll see Arthur Williams in there with Darren Zanner next week. But yeah, Toney can move up. Toney, we make big talk about how Toney once was the best fighter around. But you know what? In some ways, you could make an argument that he's still one of the best technical fighters around. He knows what to do in that ring. He is solid as a technical fighter. You don't get too much more solid than him.
In round number 1, Toney landed 10 of 48 jabs. Garbey 6 of 46. Take a look at the total numbers from round 1. You see that Toney had the edge by 6 punches landed. Teddy, you expect Toney to start, when this fight settles into where Toney wants it, inside, good power shot there by Toney, it'll start to really dig at that soft-looking midsection of Garbey?
The problem with that, Bob, yes, I do expect him to dig to that body, but you got to start early. You're going to really make that pay off. I've said this before. It's kind of like putting money in the bank. It takes time to accumulate interest. You leave the money in there for a year, you get interest. You put it in there for 2 days, no interest. Same thing with a body attack. You go to the body at the end of the fight, the guy can survive it. You have to start early for it to pay dividends.
Garbey had to lose 1.5 pounds yesterday, but it's not a huge number when you're talking about the weight that these two are at. A little different when a guy at 131 has to lose 1 pound. Left hand to the belly by Toney.
Toney is a little bit more versatile than Garbey. And Toney has shown us that he could be the best as a pro. He could be a world champion 2 times as he has been as a pro. And he's been tested. We know he can deal with big fights and top opposition. We don't know that about Garbey except for his amateur background. And Toney, when I mean he's more versatile, he counterpunches the best of them. But also he'll get off sometimes. And I think that might be the difference in this fight. Who can lead? Who can get off in spots when the other guy's being too cute? Who can take advantage of that? Who can get off his punches and not just wait for only the counter punches? Like right now.
Right hand to the body and the left, another right by Toney. Toney's heavy-handed too. In that 10th round stoppage against Adolfo Washington, he busted up Washington. I mean, that whole fight was fought on the inside, but it was subtle, but his power was evident.
Toney's turning southpaw now. He likes to do that once in a while.
Short little right hand on the inside by Toney. A little uppercut.
Again, whoever goes to the body is going to have a big edge in this fight because both guys are defensively very solid. I think this fight comes down to they do similar things, but Toney can do everything Garbey does, but a little better.
Scheduled for 10, end of round 2.
For you psychology professors out there, here's a little subtle thing that might mean something. At the end of the round, sometimes a guy looks to touch glove. Toney says, nah, not gonna make an agreement to be friends here. That might be a psychological edge to Toney right there.
James Toney landed 17 more punches in round 2 than Ramon Garbey. Garbey was 0 for 40 with his jabs in round 2.
You know, sometimes at the end of the rounds, Bob, the guy looks to touch the gloves, almost like to say, hey, you know, come on, you know, we're okay here, right? We're friends. A lot of times you see both guys agree to it. That time Toney said, no touching gloves.
Touch after the fight.
Toney's setting up some headshots here. He's touching to the body a little bit, then he's going to try to sneak up to the head. You can see it. Just did it a second ago with the left hook. Toney has quick enough hands to make that very effective. Toney will shorten his punches up when he's in close. He knows how to fight in a telephone booth. Look how he shortens those punches up. Sometimes he'll go up top with that left hook, real short, and then go right back downstairs. Right now, Toney's just touching his man, Bob, I believe, anyway. And then he's there. He just touched him, and then he's looking to drill in something. Just create an opening. Touch him up high with a short left hook, just to get the arm to go up and then bring it downstairs. And while he's just touching him, he's keeping Garbey a little bit under control. looking to set up a big shot. Touch him with a short one and a soft one like that, and then go hard. Most guys would not be able to punch off the rope too much when they're in close. Toney can do it because he's real short with his punches. He doesn't need a lot of room like that. Even though Toney's on the rope, he's the one effective right now doing the counter punching. Like the old Wilfredo Benitez, who was a great welterweight and junior welterweight champ. Used to counter off those ropes. Great.
Toney peppering Garbey to the body, 2 right hands up to the head. You kind of get the sense that James Toney has Ramon Garbey figured out.
Garbey will raise his left elbow, look for it. He'll raise his left elbow inside to try to get a little bit of room to punch. When he does that, Toney can score with the right hand to the body. Garbey has a habit of raising that left elbow to measure the guy. And right there, you can see Toney gets that right hand in when he does it. Right there, Garbey's raising that left elbow. Toney's going to get that right hand in.
James Toney, very effective off the ropes. Garbey looks to answer as the bell sounds to end round number 3. Too little, too late for Ramon Garbey. Well, James Toney is a highly decorated professional. As we've mentioned numerous times, former middleweight champion, former super middleweight champion of the world. 57 wins in his career. One of his losses, though, was to Roy Jones back in 1994. That's who he'd like to fight again. So why would Jones take a rematch with Toney?
Money. No opponents. You know, get status. Because he didn't beat James Toney like he beat everybody else. He ran for me for 12 rounds. He didn't outbeat me. He didn't beat me like he beat Reggie Johnson or anybody else. He just fell out, just ran for me for 12 rounds. That's facts. So Roy can't go out and say he just dominated me, just blew me out like he did Reggie or anybody like that. Nobody does that to me. Nobody.
Well, Teddy, at this weight and with Toney's game sort of changing a little bit, would it be a competitive fight with Roy Jones?
Well, it depends on, obviously, on what weight. Toney, of course, Toney can fight. Toney knows how to fight. This guy, you know, a lot of people will say, take nothing away from Roy Jones Jr., but a lot of people say that Toney was dead at the weight in that fight. Now, even though he's a heavier weight than he should be, obviously, he's going to be a little stronger. He shows that he can handle this weight.
But he did say that he would come down to 175 to fight Jones. Can he get down to 175 and then not be dead at the weight?
Well, he used to make 160, 168. You would think that he'd be able to make 175 if he had enough time to do it and did it properly. But Jones, Roy Jones Jr. would always be a tough style. You know that old saying, styles make fight? Well, that style will always be tough for Toney.
Good uppercut by Toney after a hook to the body.
But Toney's great when you're in front of him throwing punches. Look at what he does. He takes you apart. He makes you miss, and he comes right back. But when you use your legs on Toney, and you're not there in front of him, you box a little bit like Mr. Jones does. A little difficult.
Toney was not hurt there. He was just off balance. Toney threw 110 punches in the last round. Garbey threw 98. Toney doubled up Garbey, 34 connects to 17.
Watch how Toney sets things up there. Short punches, he knows he's in close. He sets up those short punches, and he moves his man around. He'll move to the side, create something. He looked at us, then he threw a punch.
Teddy, it's amazing how a guy that big, in such tight quarters, is able to get so much leverage on his punches and so accurate. Again, he looks at us and throws the look-away right hand.
Trying to set up his man like a quarterback, looking one way and throwing the other way. Take advantage of his opponent, going for that. Toney dips down low and then throws high. Toney knows what he's doing in there. They're all little subtle things.
Hey, it's almost like Toney loves it best when the two foreheads are resting against each other. It's like he can just pick any angle he wants.
Well, he's familiar in there. He's comfortable in there because he moves his head like that. He makes the guy miss, gets in good defensive position, and he's still the boss offensively. See, one of the problems with Garbey is Garbey knows how to fight, but he can be lazy. He can be out-hustled. And that's what happened in his last fight against Seagal.
Says he was poorly conditioned. Didn't have use of his left hand for most of it. conditions is probably the key to that whole scenario. Toney just picking his spots. With chopping right hands, left hands inside. James Toney is beating Garbey at Toney's fight.
Well, James Toney knows how to set up punches. He knows exactly where to go to set something up. He goes up top, then he goes down. Then all of a sudden he moves to the side. Then he goes up top again. Makes you miss, makes you pay.
James Toney fighting tight inside, fighting very clean, and just hot-shotting Ramon Garbey in tight. Round number 5 underway in this scheduled 10-round cruiserweight bout. Earlier tonight, Edwin Santana fought to a 10-round draw in his bout against Francisco Cruz. Power punches in 4. You see Toney landed 33 of 51 power shots. Overall, he landed 42 punches. Teddy, in the last 2 rounds, Toney has landed 76 of 184 punches. Garbey has landed 27 of 172. So Toney has landed a lot more punches, nearly 50 more in the last 2 rounds alone.
Both these guys, sometimes if you look at them at their worst, they can be out-hustled sometimes. But Toney's been a guy who obviously has shown himself to be a tremendous pro. Garbey has not shown that.
There's that right hand by Toney. Again,
tonight, Garbey is the one who does not do as much as Toney. As I said earlier, Toney can do anything Garbey does, but he does it better. They're both very similar. They like to counter punch. They're slick in there. But Toney, even though sometimes he's been accused of not being busy enough, he's the busier guy with these two.
He's the better of the two.
Yes, he is. More experienced as a pro, and more confident as a pro. He's been places Garbey doesn't know if he can go. That makes a big difference mentally. You have to believe you can do it.
Look at the punch numbers landed by round. It's getting better and better for James Toney with each round. Head of your scorecard, you have it 1 round even, 3 rounds for Toney. I have it 4-zip for Toney.
Look for Toney to be effective with that left hook inside. He sneaks that left hook off the body attack. All of a sudden he sneaks up short left hook.
Left hand by Garbey.
But Garbey does not follow up on it. He's not going to get too many opportunities here. He has to take advantage of them, and when he has them, he's got to put punches together. But it's not his temperament. He's a little bit lazy. That's one of the... It kind of goes in connection with him being a cruiserweight when he came over here as a light heavyweight. He did not have the discipline to keep his weight down. He doesn't have the discipline to throw the extra punches either.
Garbey landed a good left hand after a right bounced off the back of Toney's head.
Every once in a while, Toney will fall out. When he falls out, Garbey's able to be a little effective there.
The midway point of the fight, James Toney is controlling Ramon Garbey. Here's Andre and Max.
All right, thanks a lot, Bob. We can question James Toney's recollection of the Roy Jones fight. We can't question too much else he's doing tonight, though, Max.
It's funny because conditions of this era don't favor Toney. He'd have been better fighting 100 years ago. Toney with 45-round fights. If you lose to a guy, you fight him again the next week. Toney has such subtle skill, such patience, good body puncher, solid chin. All his attributes don't favor a 12-round distance. It's not so much that he ever loses a fight. It's he just, you know, doesn't have time to outlast the other guy.
All right, a quick programming reminder. Major League Baseball playoff action on Saturday. ESPN and ESPN2. Braves and Astros at 1 o'clock Eastern. Diamondbacks and Mets at the same time. And we want to send it back now to our main man in Taunton.
Every once in a while, Toney gets a little sloppy and falls straight out. That gives Garbey an opportunity to catch his man stepping straight out. But he should have taken more advantage of that. There should have been more punches there.
Well, there weren't enough, and James Toney has been a bit busier, but, man, has he been a lot accurate. Round 2, he landed 23 punches. Round 3, Toney landed 34 of 110. Round 4, he landed 42 of 74. And he lands another 38 more punches. Not all of them huge shots, but impressive enough.
Garbey has a little bit of a reach edge there, Bob. One thing, but it would take discipline. A lace is loose on the left glove of Garbey now, and also the tape is loose. I think the referee is going to stop this at some point when he recognizes that.
I think Flaherty does.
I was saying before, Garbey has a little reach advantage. He can pick off Toney before Toney gets close. Toney has to get a little closer to him to punch than Garbey has to be. Garbey should take advantage of that and start to pick up Toney on the outside a little bit.
James Toney with a little smile. This is easy for him, Teddy.
Well, he's relaxed in there. He just looked over at us, gave us a little wink there.
He's in total control. And he
Can't get careless, though. Garbey's a good puncher. Even though he's a lazy guy, he knows how to fight. You can't get careless with a guy like that. Anyone who's had 400 amateur fights have been a 3-time world champion with top amateurs. You don't want to get careless. Garbey's a guy through his amateur travels. He beat 2 guys who are world champions now. He beat Juan Carlos Gomez 3 times in amateur. Gomez now is the WBC undefeated cruiserweight champion. Garbey also beat Sven Ottke of Germany, who's currently the IBF super middleweight champ. If that's not enough, Garbey also beat Chris Bird, one of the top-rated heavyweights around. All in the amateurs, though.
3 rounds.
And by the way, this is the pros. It's not 3 rounds. Hey, you know that saying? Anything you can do, I can do better? Well, that's what Toney says.
No headgear.
He might not. That's right. He might not have won any amateur titles, but he's won pro titles. And he's been tested. He knows what he can do. That means a lot. Sometimes a guy goes in there, he's not sure if he can do it. He tiptoes around. Toney's not tiptoeing right now. Toney has to be careful sometimes, Bob. He'll make moves a little bit too far away. And with the range of Garbey, if you make the moves a little too far away, the guy can time you sometimes. Garbey tried it that time.
You know, Max made a point that Toney's almost from another era when they fought real long fights, and he could just kind of dig in there with that style. Max had that list last week of the guys who moved up in weight, his top 5. And he had Vinny Pazienza and Oscar De La Hoya in there, Roy Jones, Vander Holyfield. He left out Roberto Duran.
Yes, I think he made a mistake.
I don't know how he has Pazienza ahead of Roberto Duran as far as moving up in weight.
I think he made a little bit of a mistake there. Just a little.
Showing his age. End of round 6, all James Toney controlling this fight. We're at the Roseland Ballroom in Taunton, Massachusetts, about an hour or so south of Boston. Friday Night Fights on ESPN2. James Toney, Ramon Garbey underway, round number 7 in the scheduled 10-rounder. No knockdown so far in the fight. Now the man has been hurt, but James Toney has just been better than Ramon Garbey in this fight. Through 6 rounds, Garbey has landed only 13. 195 jabs. Toney has landed 50 of 185. It was a slow round 6 for Toney. Landed only 20 of 73 punches. Garbey landed just 4 of 58. In the corner of James Toney, one of the better trainers in the game, Freddie Roach. And Freddie, it seems that James can do whatever he wants against Garbey.
Yeah, he can, but I think he'd make the fight a lot easier if he gets his jab going and backs this guy up. Garbey's kind of strong on the inside, and he doesn't fight too well moving back.
Freddie, would you like to have seen James maybe sustain a little bit more of a body attack earlier on Garbey?
Yeah, I would, because I told him earlier that he needs to work that body and break this guy down. He's got a pretty good chin. So I think if James worked the body a little bit more, he'd get this guy out of there in the later rounds.
Freddie, do you worry that James having such control, especially early on, that he might get a little bit lackadaisical, a little careless with Garbey?
Yeah, I think so. He's getting a little lackadaisical out there. I think he's got to get his focus back on and get to work in there. This Garbey's a tough guy.
Yeah, I mean, he was a great amateur. He can punch. He knows how to fight. Guy that you can't all of a sudden get a little lax on.
No, with him, he's liable to catch you if you get too relaxed in there with him.
Sometimes that's a problem when you get ahead easy early on.
This is true. That's why I'm going to pump James up next round and tell him he's got to step it up a little bit and win these rounds a little bit more convincingly.
All right, Freddie, thanks a lot. Best of luck.
Thanks, guys.
All right, Freddie Roach. I got some concerns. I mean, it has been so easy for Toney through the first 6 rounds.
Sometimes, you know, sometimes that can hurt you in any kind of contest. You see it many times. A football team gets ahead early, and all of a sudden, psychologically, they don't even mean it. But they let up a little bit, the other team comes on. It's hard to all of a sudden change those gears. Sometimes it hurts you when you get ahead early. I've seen guys drop guys early, and all of a sudden they try to throw that punch again. They get away from the rest of their fight plan, fighting a consistent, steady fight. Next thing you know, they're behind in a fight.
Reggie Green last week against Mickey Ward. One of the better fights that we've seen this year. Had Ward down, didn't press the action in round 4, let Ward get his legs back, and Mickey knocked him out in a thrilling round 10. Toney and Garbey plod along at the end of round 7. 3 more to go.
We talked about the psychological edge before. Well, watch this. A little bit of extra fighting at the end of the belt. Both guys go after each other a little bit. Garbey goes after Toney. Toney goes right back after him. But who puts their glove out to make peace? Garbey. Who's winning the fight? Toney.
Second time that's happened, Teddy.
Yes. Don't think that doesn't mean something. The tape on the left glove of Garbey is loose again. I think it's probably going to cause a stoppage at some point in this round for the referee to take him to his corner and get that tape cut off, because that tape can go into a fighter's eye.
Double left hook by Toney. Right hand over the top, counter right by Toney. Take a look at the numbers in round 7. Toney again outlanding Garbey. Toney has had 4 rounds where he's landed 30 or more punches. Actually, 36 or more punches.
You know, I still think Freddie Roach is right, though. He's a good trainer, he's a good cornerman, good teacher. I think he's right. Toney's the quicker guy. Both guys are very similar, but Toney's the quicker guy. He's got the faster hands, used to be middleweight champ, still has the speed advantage. I think he can separate himself more, Bob, on the outside than Garbey can. Garbey would be at more of a disadvantage on the outside because of the difference in speed. On the inside, even though Toney's getting the better of it, Garbey is able to get away with certain things, smother certain things, push his weight around a little bit. He wouldn't be able to do those things on the outside.
But isn't the object for Toney to just win? Isn't he like past the point of having to knock people out, be ultra impressive? Everyone knows what he is and who he is and how he fights. He doesn't need to change anyone's opinion, does he?
I disagree a little bit. Tony's been a guy who has not been in the center of people's attention. He's not been in the eye, so to speak, of boxing. And he's a guy who has to be impressive in there, even though he's been a terrific fighter, almost a great fighter. I mean, he was once thought of as the best pound-for-pound fighter around. But now he's not on anybody's top dance card. He needs to be a little exciting. We know that he can fight. We already know that he can slip punches and he can fight. He needs to have exciting performances if he wants to force some of those big fights.
Yeah, I guess he's highly thought of by the boxing aficionado, but in order to get big fights and big paydays, you got to get other people turned on. And really, you're right, a lot of times when people who aren't really big boxing fans hear that James Toney's fighting, the first thing is, oh, he's still fighting?
And by fighting inside right now, he's allowing Garbey sometimes maybe to have moments where he's able to steal certain spots, like right now. He's allowing Garbey to move his hands, even if they're not all landing. He's allowed to maybe steal spots to the judges a little bit. Have little moments. On the outside, I don't think Garbey would have those moments on the outside. You can see the difference when they're outside. Toney separates himself.
Well, they'll have to fix the tape on that glove of Garbey, and he caught Toney coming in.
Action at the end here, and Garbey had some of his better moments there. Toney off balance there. Made people think some things were landing that weren't really landing, but they went at it after the bell a little bit again. But some of the better work for Garbey was at the end of the round.
Still got outlanded by 17 punches in the round, but you could make the case that Garbey landed the better shots in that round. Good left hand by Garbey as Toney was leaning in.
And the referee did a good job. Little subtle thing, just like these fighters do little subtle things. He followed Garbey back to his corner and made the corner put tape over that loose piece of tape on the left glove. This way he wouldn't have to interrupt the action during the round.
Punch numbers through round 8. You see that Toney has landed 283 punches to Garbey's 80. That is a huge number.
Again, I think Toney should be boxing a little bit more on the outside. I know he's effective inside, but he's allowing Garbey to get a little bit of a free ride inside. Use his size a little bit, smother certain things. Be able to avoid certain things. Difference in speed on the outside allows Toney to sort of exploit things a little bit better. Even there, when he's stepping back and punching, you can see the hand speed of Toney, which is better than Garbey's. Toney still has to be careful he doesn't get careless in there with Garbey. Garbey's beaten plenty of top fighters when he was an amateur.
Garbey does have a 9th round knockout. In January this year, he took out Leon's Barber in round 9. Toney has 7 knockouts past the 8th round.
See, right there was a good move by Garbey, but he didn't do anything off it. He feinted Toney. Toney went for it. He took the bait a little bit, made his defensive move. Garbey should have done something go off the feint. And I think either guy could work feints very well in this fight. I'm surprised neither guy had. They're both in there with guys who slip a lot of punches. Feint the guy a little bit, make him make a slip too soon, time him. See, Garbey is not busy enough. Nobody's done anything extreme in this round, but Toney's moving his hand.
Chopping right hand by Toney to the body, double left hook to the body by Toney after a right hand to the head by Garbey.
Garbey would be a little bit busier. He could have some good moments here because he could take advantage of Toney sometimes looking to place punches and therefore not being real busy. While he's looking to place, Garbey could be busy.
Guys not connecting.
Okay, I want you to stay on him. Don't let him off the hook.
Eddie, you and I don't have this fight that close. We have it pretty much in favor of Toney, but you can see the urgency by Freddie Roach because the fight is so subtle and so much inside stuff. The judges don't have access to our numbers. It could be a lot closer than maybe it looks.
Yeah, Freddie's a former fighter. Freddie knows the reality of boxing. A lot of these rounds that we felt and I felt that Toney won by the shorter punches, the more effective punches, they were close rounds. They could easily go the other way. Freddie knows how subjective the scoring can be in this business. He knows as well as we could have 5 rounds, 6 rounds, 7 rounds for Toney. It could also be the other way. Those are close rounds.
Good uppercut by Toney.
But I do think Toney lands the cleaner punches in most of these rounds.
Bob McCoy, Dan O'Neill, Vinny Lee are the 3 judges. They've judged every fight here tonight, and we applaud them because earlier they had the undefeated local kid, Jeff Frazier, against Tyrone Jackson. Frazier 5-0 with 5 knockouts. Jackson beat him even though he had a 3-4 record, and the judges had a unanimous decision for Jackson and lopsided, and we agreed. You don't always see that. It's a shame that we have to applaud good judging and honesty, but you have to.
Either fighter who's moving their hands in these spots there will separate themselves, give themselves a big edge. Right now, Toney's doing it. And that's why I had him winning a lot of those close rounds. The early rounds I didn't think were that close. I thought Toney took them.
Yeah, I mean, rounds 2, 3, 4, 5, he was outlanding Garbey by 20 punches a round. And throwing more, too.
Garbey is still not busy enough. Toney's doing a little bit more than Garbey. Just because he's making his hands move. Garbey right now is Spencer leaving openings up because he's going to the head. You know a guy slick like Toney, you want to do 2 things. 3 things, actually. You want to go to body so you don't miss the head. You want to put punches together, so if you miss the first, you can land the second maybe or the third. And you want to keep your punches short. You're in there with a cute guy. You want to keep the punches real short, because you're not going to land a long one.
Garbey can't land that big punch. Toney makes him miss. Toney counters with his own right.
Toney's being a little lazy here, giving Garbey little moments.
Right hand by Garbey. Toney counters.
Sometimes Toney makes a little bit too many moves, but Garbey doesn't take advantage of it. Garbey doesn't move like that. Garbey should be moving his head. Hands, I mean, when Toney's moving his head.
Toney with a big shot in the ear on the left. Garbey answers, but after the bell. Well, at least according to our eyes, James lights out Toney. Outworked, out-hustled, and outlanded Ramon Garbey. How the judges have it scored, we'll find out after this timeout. Minute 99 at 91 in favor of Toney. Here with the judges' scorecards, our ring announcer, Bill Carpenter.
Ladies and gentlemen, having completed the scheduled distance of 10 rounds, we go to the judges' scorecards for your official decision. Judge Don O'Neill scores the bout 99-91. Judge Bob McCoy has it 98-93. And Judge Vinnie Lee has it 98-92. All scoring for your winner by unanimous decision, James Lights Out Toney.
Well, the judges tonight in Taunton, Massachusetts, to the commission should be applauded. They got everything right. Toney a winner, unanimous decision. Tyrone Jackson an upset win. Santana and Cruz a draw.